This camera has been sitting in a box for over a decade and I wasn't even sure if it still worked, but I put the battery in the charger and it works. So let's go out and take some pictures before we continue. The Canon 350D, also known as the Rebel XT, was released back in 2005, the same year, believe it or not, as YouTube was launched. But it would take Canon another 7 years before they released a DSLR that could shoot video. Now, here's a little quiz for you. If you know what model that was that could shoot video, leave it in the comment section. Okay, so this is pretty cool. So behind me here is an old World War II era bunker. So I figured, let's see if we can climb on top and get our first picture from on top of the bunker. Okay, that was easy. So let's see if we can get our first shot. There's a pretty amazing view. So yeah, let's begin our snapping. Got to check the exposure. I don't know. I think there's definitely something special about a lot of these older DSLRs, even if you sometimes feel like you have to take a couple of steps back when you use them and kind of treat them more like a film camera, which isn't necessarily bad, but it is a different shooting experience. There's no live view, no articulating screens, which will make low angle shots more difficult and a bit more uncomfortable and sometimes. The autofocus, on the other hand, works surprisingly well, but with only 7 autofocus points, you'll often find yourself focusing on your subject, then while still half pressing the shutter, recompose and then take the shot. A lot of us have dealt with this kind of autofocus system before, but if you're new to it, then it might feel a bit clunky, but it's still a lot of fun and it will definitely give you a different shooting experience. Did I get that bird? Another thing that I'm also a huge fan of when it comes to older cameras, be it DSLR or even point and shoot cameras, the colors that comes of the sensors on these older cameras is, I think it's a bit more vibey, a bit more, not as true to life as we're used to with modern cameras, which kind of adds to the little extra magic and, one of the things that makes these cameras a lot more fun to shoot with. Yes, it's cold. And I am somewhat stupid. Whew. Yeah. But I think we got the shot. And speaking of film, by the way, one of these 1 gigabyte cards will give you around 80 exposures, which is, somewhat close to like 236 rolls if you shoot RAW plus JPEG. I kind of like that. It's keeping me from doing too much spraying and praying and just like with film, become a bit more intentional with my shooting. For casual shooting, I think it's kind of a good thing to have a limitation like that. Now, let's cover some of the specs. I think it's also kind of interesting and a bit funny to compare the specs of a camera from 2005 with what we're used to seeing in modern cameras. So First of all, the 350D or Rebel XT got an 8 megapixel APS-C sensor that can shoot bursts of up to 2.8 images per second. It uses Canon's EF mount. The CIPA rating on the battery, by the way, is 600 shots if you don't use the built-in pop-up flash. If you're interested in buying one of these cameras, I would say the build quality of them is surprisingly good. I would say that compared to my Canon 200D SL2, the 350D feels way more sturdy and less plasticky. So I think that's a good thing. Everything on this camera works as it should, except two things, which are both my fault, I think. Well, 1.5 maybe. So the first thing that don't work on my camera is the pop-up flash I noticed today. So I happened to spill a beverage on the camera many years ago, which kind of made it sticky or something. I've tried to clean it, but I can't get it to work again like it should. So that's my fault. The second thing, which is not entirely my fault, but probably has to do with age, is the little rubber flap that should be here to protect the ports. There shouldn't be too much to worry about when it comes to these cameras, in my opinion, when it comes to buying a used one. Obviously, there's always going to be bad apples here and there, but you know, for the most part, it feels like it's built to a different level compared to a lot of the newer cameras in terms of ruggedness and all that. So I'd say it's a pretty great camera if you're looking for a cheap travel camera. If you're going places where you don't want to bring your expensive camera gear, this could be a very affordable option for you. On eBay, you can usually pick one of these up for like $50 or something. Fun camera to shoot with, very affordable, highly recommended as a fun camera, travel camera, or what have you. Now, if you are into retro digital cameras, then take a look at this video up here and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye!